and I am the first speaker of the opposition team. So we do agree that misinformation is a serious problem in society. It can confuse people, spread fear, and even endanger public safety. However, we strongly disagree with today's motion because making social media platforms legally responsible is not the right solution. Our position is simple. Social media companies should remove harmful content and improve moderation, but they should not be held legally responsible for every post made by millions of users. Our first argument is about freedom of speech. If social media companies can be sued or punished for misinformation posted by users, they will become overly careful. To avoid legal problems, they are likely to remove any content that seems controversial, even if it is true or a part of a healthy public discussion. As a result, journalists, activists, researchers, and ordinary people may lose their voices simply because the platform is afraid of being punished. According to the United Nations, freedom of expression is a fundamental human right, and restriction on online speech should be necessary and proportionate. When companies fear legal punishment, they are more likely to censor content than to protect public discussion. Our second argument is that it is impossible to define misinformation fairly. Information changes over time. Scientific knowledge develops, and even evidence often change what people believe to be true. A clear example happened during the COVID-19 pandemic. Some ideas that were once considered misinformation were later supported by scientific evidence. This shows that truth is not always immediate or simple. If social media If social media platforms become legally responsible, who decides what if it's true? Governments, company, artificial intelligence? None of them are perfect. Giving them the power creates a serious risk of unfair censorship. And therefore, legal responsibility not solve misinformation. Well, instead, it may silence important voices and reduce public trust. For this reason, we firmly oppose this motion. And thank you.
Mr. Speaker, the affirmative team lives in a convenient, ideal world where truth is perfectly black and white, and where complex human crises can be solved with a simple legal gravel. But first, we have to look at the operational reality. The pro team confidently stated and declared that platforms process the infallible technology to stop misinformation in its tracks. This is a profound misunderstanding of how technology operates. Artificial intelligence, or AI, works on data patterns. It does not possess human consciousness. AI cannot interpret text like culture, satire, or sarcasm. It cannot recognize it, and it is completely blind to cultural nuance. If you enforce this law, automated content moderation system will go into overdrive. Valid political dissent, whistleblowing, and cultural humor will be systematically flagged, deleted out of algorithmic fear. The alternative is not to create a safer internet, but rather they are created a heavily censored, sterile digital landscape where open discourse is goes to die. Third, this brings me directly to our argument. Shifting the blame or salah sasaran. Social media is not the root cause of evil. It is not. It is a mirror of reflecting our society. Misinformation does not spawn from lines of code. It exists because of deeply entrenched systemic issues. That is, the lack of digital literacy, intense political polarization, and raw human behavior. When an individual actively chooses to share a dangerous lie, the moral and legal responsibility rests solely on that individual. Punishing the platform for a user post is exactly suing the telephone company just because the criminal used the telephone company phone to scam an elderly person as an example. It is irrational, and by placing the legal burden on tech companies, the affirmative is actively shifting the responsibility away from the actual bad actor, and worse, They are giving the government a free pass to ignore its most fundamental duty, educating its citizens to think critically. If you want to fix a leaking roof, you do not sue the hammer and the manufacturer. You fix the structure first. We must invest in media literacy, public education, rather than passing the buck to private corporations. And fourth, the argument for is monopolizing the market and practical harms. Let's look at fourth argument, the structural destruction of the competition and market monopoly. Who actually benefit from the policy? Ironically, it is the very tech giants like they claim to oppose. Monopolies like Meta or Google will easily survive this massive lawsuit because they possess billions of dollars in reserve assets and command literal armies of corporate lawyers to tie up litigation in the court of decades. But consider this the alternative. What happened to the small startups of company or tech small? What happened to the new innovative platform being built by young entrepreneur in ADEC right now? This law will ruthlessly kill competition before it even started. No venture capitalist will fund a new social media platform if that platform first an immediate unsurvivable bankruptcy over a single rogue user post. By making liability absolute, you build an impenetrable legal wall around the existing tech giant. This policy acts as a protectionist act shield for the big tech, effectively cementing a permanent unbreakable monopoly. And finally, and the solution and conclusion of this argument from the contra team. Madam, Ms. Speaker, listen to me. The practical solution is not blind litigation. It is collaborative regulation. We should mandate transparent fact-checking partnership, incentivize the algorithmic promotion of verified news source, and heavily penalize coordinated state-sponsored bot network rather than punishing individual speech platforms. This affirmative bring you an emotional band-aid that breaks the market and ignore the human roots of the problem. The opposition bring you structural reality, economic preservation, and a real power. For all these reasons, I am proud to oppose. Thank you.
Madam and Mr. Speaker, esteemed judges and honorable members of the House, let's take a step back and look at what actually happened in today's debate. The government team came here with a very simple promise: makes platforms legally responsible if the internet will be safer. But as we've shown you across 3 speakers, that promise collapses the moment you look at how it will work in the real world. Their model doesn't solve misinformation, it trades one problem for a much bigger one: state and corporate control over what billions of people are allowed to say and see. Let's break down the cases point by point and why it fails. First, the government say tech companies can will and moderate content perfectly if we just threaten them with legal punishment. We've proven that unrealistic, even with thousands of human moderators and billion-dollar AI system today. Platforms still make massive mistakes. Why? Because context is hard. Sarcasm, satire, medical debate, political criticism, and journalism all look risky to an algorithm. If you add the threats, fines, and criminal liability for CEOs, you don't get better moderation, you get terrified moderation. You get platforms deleting first and asking question later. That means the local journalist reporting on a protest gets taken down. A doctor questioning a new health guideline gets shadow banned. A student posting a meme about politics gets flagged. Not because it's misinformation, but because the platform can't afford to take the legal risk. The government never answered how they'll stop it over censorship, and without the answer, their model breaks. Second, the government claims that their protest protects democracy by protecting voters and public health. But Madam Speaker, what is democracy without a free public square? Democracy depends on debate, on dissent, on the ability to challenge power and question official narratives. The government model turns the digital public square into a gated community run by the most risk-averse lawyers in Silicon Valley. When platforms are afraid of being sued, they protect speech. They restrict it. They prioritize whatever is the safest for them legally. Now, what is the most important for citizens? That means the voice that gets silenced first are not the powerful, but ordinary people, activists, minorities, and independent media who can't afford lawyers to fight a takedown. The government called this accountability. We call it what it is: the outsourcing of censorship to private companies out of fear that doesn't strengthen democracy. It hollows it out. And finally, Madam Speaker, let's talk about the solution here. The government offered legal threats as a cure for misinformation, but But we on opposition have shown you a better way. The root is misinformation is not just for the platform. It's people who not having the tool to tell the fact from fiction. That's why our team has consistently argued for education for media literacy, for transparency label, and for targeting the actual bad actors who deliberately spread disinformation, not punishing the entire platform for user content. Legal threats are blunt, dangerous tool. Education is a precise one. You don't stop a virus by shutting down the hospital. You stop it by giving people vaccines and information. The same logic applies here. So let's wait the debate. The government promised safety. What they delivered was a model and incentivize mass deletion, kills nuance, and kills free speech. The opposition promised freedom with responsibility. We show you that you can fight misinformation without creating an echo chamber controlled by elites and algorithm. Madam Speaker, when you vote today, ask yourself, do you want an internet that is safe because no one is allowed to speak, or do you want an internet that is free, messy, and where citizens are allowed to empower to think for themselves? For all these reasons, the damage of the government policy far outweighs any benefits. We have rebutted their mechanics, we have defended democracy, and we have given you a better alternative. Proud to impose, thank you.
Overall, our team has clearly demonstrated that holding social media platform legally responsible for the spread of misinformation, it is not the right solution. Throughout this debate, we have shown that this policy would lead to over-censorship because platform would remove many posts simply to avoid legal punishment. As a result, freedom of speech, public discussion, and journalism could be seriously affected. We have also explained that misinformation is difficult to rebind. What is considered false today maybe become accepted tomorrow as a new evidence emerge. Therefore, giving government or social media companies the authority to determine the truth creates a high risk of censorship and abuse of power. Furthermore, responsibility should remain with the individuals who intentionally create and spread misinformation, not with the platform that merely provide a place for communication instead of imposing legal punishment. On social media companies, government should focus on improving digital literacy, strengthening fact-checking, and enforcing laws against the real offenders. In conclusion, the government's proposal creates more problem than solution. It threatens freedom of expression, is difficult to implement fairly, and fails to address the real cause of misinformation. For these reasons, we firmly believe that the opposition has won today's debate. Thank you.